Hello dear students. Today we are in Unit 18, Digital Era. Our topic is relative clauses. Firstly, I will explain the rules and examples briefly, and then we will go deeper. Please take notes and write your questions while you are listening to the video. What is the relative clause? A relative clause is one kind of a dependent clause. It has a subject and verb, but can't stand alone as a sentence. It needs a main clause. A relative clause always begins with a relative pronoun which substitutes for a noun phrase, or a pronoun. Where do we use relative clauses? We use relative clauses to describe or give extra information about something we have already mentioned. We often use relative pronouns who, where, which, whose to introduce relative clauses. For example, we have two sentences. The Chinese ate bats. The bats had coronavirus. And here is our relative clause. The Chinese ate bats which had coronavirus. Here, the Chinese ate bats is the main clause. The relative pronoun is which and it refers back to the bats. And which had coronavirus is the relative clause. There are a lot of relative pronouns. We use who for people, whose for position, which for things, but we never use which for people, where or in which for a place, and when for a time. Who. We use who to refer to people. For example, Adam Curry and Dave Winer are the ones who developed the podcast. Here, the main clause is Adam Curry and Dave Winer are the ones. The relative pronoun is who, and it refers back to the ones. And who developed the podcast is the relative clause. Steven Stenson is the person who invented the digital camera. Here, the main clause is Steven Stenson is the person. The relative pronoun is who, and it refers back to the person. And who invented the digital camera is the relative clause. Whose. We use whose to express position. Do you know the YouTuber whose video had 1 million likes? Here, the main clause is do you know the YouTuber? The relative pronoun is whose, and it refers to the YouTuber's video. And whose video had 1 million likes is the relative clause. I really like Jennifer, whose blog posts are useful in education. Here, I really like Jennifer is the main clause. Whose is the relative pronoun, and it refers to Jennifer's blog posts. And whose blog posts are useful in education is the relative clause. Which. We use which to refer to things. We can use it for animals or any non-living thing, but we don't use it for people. For example, China is the country which has the highest number of internet users. Here, China is the country is the main clause. Which is the relative pronoun and it refers back to the country. And which has the highest number of internet users is the relative clause. The social network is the film which is about the use of social media. Here, the main clause is the social network is the film, which is the relative pronoun and it refers back to the film. And which is about the use of social media is the relative clause. Where or in which. We use where or in which to refer to a place. For example, blog is a website where or in which a person writes regularly about a topic. I will say only where. Here, blog is a website is the main clause. Where is the relative pronoun and it refers back to a website. And where a person writes regularly about the topic is the relative clause. Today's America is the country where there are the most affected people from COVID-19 pandemic. Here, America is the country is the main clause. Where is the relative pronoun and it refers back to the country. And where there are the most affected people from COVID-19 pandemic is the relative clause. When. We use when to refer to a time. For example, 127 is the year when the first electronic TV was invented. Here, 127 is the main clause. When is the relative pronoun and it refers back to the year. And when the first electronic TV was invented is the relative clause. 219 is the year when the first coronavirus case existed. Here, 219 is the year is the main clause. When is the relative pronoun and it refers back to the year. And when the first coronavirus case existed is the relative clause.
Now, let's continue with the example sentences of relative clauses. Here is the first relative clause. Steve Jobs was the man who founded Apple. In this sentence, Steve Jobs was the man is the main clause. Who founded Apple is the relative clause. Who is a relative pronoun. It substitutes for a hidden pronoun, which is he. The relative pronoun who is the subject of the relative clause. So, we don't repeat the subject he. Therefore, we omit the pronoun he and then combine the two sentences by using relative pronoun who. Because the man refers to a person, we need to put relative pronoun who. Consequently, we make clear which person we are talking about. The second one is an example of a question sentence. Are you the one is the main clause. Who sent me the email is the relative clause. We don't repeat the subject because the relative pronoun who is the subject of the relative clause. The one refers to a person, so we need to put the relative pronoun who. Now we are with the relative pronoun whose. We use whose as the possessive form of who. Bill Gates is a billionaire is the main clause. Whose company is Microsoft is the relative clause. Whose is always followed by a noun. Normally, the sentence is that his company is Microsoft. We omit his and instead of possessive pronoun, we put whose to state possession. Charlie Chaplin was the director whose movies are well known. In this sentence, whose refers to the possessive pronoun his. His movies are well known. However, we omit his and add relative pronoun whose to make a relative clause. Vlog is a blog is the main clause. Which contains video content is the relative clause. Which refers to it. We omit it and put which. Relative clause gives us more information about the object, which is used when the relative pronoun is the object of the clause. The most important invention was the portable computer is the main clause. Which was invented by a smart man is the relative clause, which refers to it. In other words, portable computer. Instead of it, we put which to make a relative clause. We use where with places to make clear which place we are talking about. You should know that in which is equivalent to where. The USA is a country where you can buy all types of technological devices. Where refers to hidden there at the end of the relative clause. In other words, you can buy all types of technological devices there. We omit there and instead of it, we put where while combining the two sentences. This is a wonderful shop where you can find various sizes of cables. There is a hidden there at the end of the second sentence, where replace its meaning. We use when with times to make it clear which time we are talking about. 2000 is the year when vlogging started. Normally, we say that vlogging started then, which refers to 2000. However, we omit the hidden then and put when instead of it. It was last week when we visited Apple Store. There is a hidden then at the end of the second sentence. We omit it and put when. The relative pronoun when defines last week. Now, let's do some exercises to learn the topic permanently. Here is our instruction. Choose the correct option. Before watching the rest of the video, please stop the video and try to answer them by yourself. Write your own answers and then check them. First, I congratulated the student blah blah got the highest mark. A, whose, B, who, C, which, and finally D, where. In this sentence, we need to focus on the noun phrase, the student. It refers to a person. Therefore, we choose who. Second, I bought a new car, blah blah is very fast. A, whose, B, who, C, which, D, where. We should look at a new car. Car refers to an object. For objects, we use which relative pronoun. So, the answer is C, which. Let's continue with another exercise. I want you to combine the two sentences by using a relative clause. First one, that is the cafe, we held the meeting there. There refers to the cafe. As we use where for places and the cafe is a place, we need to omit there and after the cafe put where. Here is our relative clause. That is the cafe where we held the meeting. Second one. November is the month, autumn ends then. As these sentences are related to the time, we should use when. In the second sentence, then should be omitted and when should be put after the first sentence. Here is your homework. Please do the third exercise on page 363. If you have any questions, you can contact with us. We will be happy to answer.